People keep asking, which one should I buy? But the smarter question is, what kind of gamer are you? The RTX 5070 and the Radeon RX 9070 XT are both modern 16GB cards aimed at high-settings gaming, but they win in different ways. So I'm going to compare them like a real buyer, the games you play, and the things that make a card feel good or annoying after the honeymoon phase. First, the identity check. The RTX 5070 is a GeForce RTX 50 series card based on NVIDIA Blackwell. NVIDIA lists it with 16GB of GDDR7 on a 256-bit bus and is built around DLSS 4 and Reflex 2. The RX 9070 XT is an AMD Radeon RX 9000 series card based on RDNA 4. In AMD specs table, it is 64 compute units, 16GB of GDDR6, a 256-bit interface, and 304 West total board power. Both have 16GB, so RAM alone does not settle the winner. Now pick your profile, because the right answer depends on it. Profile 1, competitive and latency focused. You care about input field, 1% lows, and consistency. Profile 2, single-player visuals. You turn on ray tracing, you want clean image quality, and you accept upscaling. Profile 3, mixed use. You game, you record or edit sometimes, and you want the least tweaking. If you are Profile 1, here is the truth. Most FPS drops are not the GPU. They are background spikes, CPU limits, and memory mistakes. So whichever GPU you buy, do the same baseline setup. Use dual-channel RAM, enable XMP or Expo, enable resizable bar, and keep overlays minimal. Then test with an overlay that shows frame time, GPU usage, and CPU usage. Once your system is clean, NVIDIA often has an advantage in competitive play because Reflex is widely supported across esports titles, and it is simple to enable. AMD can still feel great, especially with a clean system and good tuning. But if competitive smoothness is your #1 priority, the NVIDIA ecosystem is usually the safer bet. If you are Profile 2, ray tracing becomes the divider. NVIDIA's Blackwell generation includes 4th-generation ray tracing cores on RTX 50 series cards and DLSS. 4 features like ray reconstruction and multi-frame generation in supported games. The practical result is that you can keep higher RT settings and still hold playable frame rates because DLSS is doing a lot of the work. AMD improved ray tracing with RDNA 4. And AMD positions the RX 9070 XT as a major step forward versus the previous tier. But if ray tracing is the center of your personal library, NVIDIA is usually the less risky pick. Now upscaling, because this is the reality of modern gaming. At 1440p and especially at 4K, upscaling is not a shameful trick. It is how you run high settings without turning your GPU into a space heater. NVIDIA pushes DLSS 4 across the RTX 50 series. AMD pushes FSR 4 on RX 9000 series cards. And in its RDNA 4 announcement, AMD highlights that FSR 4 is ML-based and targets better temporal stability, preserved detail, and reduced ghosting compared to FSR 3.1. The buyer takeaway is simple. If your favorite games support DLSS well, the 5070T experience is often smoother with less fiddling. If your games support FSR well, AMD can be an excellent value. So what about normal raster performance, ray tracing off? This is where many people live. AMD aims the RX 9000 series at mainstream performance and value, and AMD publicly lists an SEP of $599 for the RX 9070 XT. If price to performance is your main priority and your games are mostly raster heavy, the RX 9070 XT can be the smarter buy. On the RTX side, pricing varies by model and partner, so I will not pretend one number is the whole story. But feature value is part of the price too. If DLSS 4 and Reflex features matter to you, you are paying for an ecosystem, not just FPS. Now 1440p specifically. At 1440p, both cards can deliver high refresh gaming in many titles, assuming your CPU is not ancient and your RAM is configured correctly. The differences show up in 1% lows, in ray tracing, and in games with heavy CPU load. If you are CPU limited at 1440p, neither GPU will look as good as it should. A GPU upgrade cannot fix a bad platform. If you want 4K plus ray tracing and you want the cleanest path in supported games, the RTX 5070T with DLSS 4 is usually the smoother option. If you mainly want 4K raster with smart upscaling and a strong value pitch, the RX 9070 XT is very attractive, especially if you are trying to keep total build costs under control. Creators and streamers, quick and practical. Both sides support modern recording and editing workflows. The real difference is software preference. The RTX 5070T can save time and frustration. Now power and noise, because this is what you live with every day. AMD lists 304W for the RX 9070 XT. NVIDIA partner boards vary, but both cards are serious enough that your case airflow matters. If your case has weak intake, either card will run hotter and louder, and you will blame the GPU when the case is the real problem. Give the front panel real airflow, keep cables out of the intake path, and use sane fan curves. That will improve your experience more than chasing tiny benchmark differences. So which one do I pick? Pick the RTX 5070T if you value ray tracing and DLSS 4 the most. You want broad support for NVIDIA features like Reflex, or your creator tools prefer NVIDIA. Pick the RX 9070 XT if you want a strong all-around gaming card with a clear value lane. You like a AMD's RDNA 4 direction and FSR 4 improvements. And your main focus is high settings raster gaming at 1440p and 4K with smart upscaling. Final pro tip: do not buy a GPU based on one average FPS chart. Buy it based on your top 5 games and your monitor. The card that gives you stable frame times in your library is the real winner. If you want a no-guessing recommendation, comment your CPU model, PSU wattage, monitor resolution, and your top 5 games. I will tell you which one fits. And if this comparison saved you time, follow and subscribe for more straight PC buying advice.